Hello champions, I welcome you to score 360 out of 360 in NEET 2025 within just 250 days. Over here I am going to talk about reproductive health, and we covered half of the chapter in the previous session, and today we are yet to cover the next half. Today we are going to cover medical termination of pregnancy, that is MTP, sexually transmitted infection, that is STI, and assisted reproductive technologies, that is ART. So over here I want to tell you one very important thing from this chapter. The frequently asked questions came from contraceptive methods and also assisted reproductive technologies, so you cannot miss these topics. And this is video number 9. Let's go ahead. So without wasting much of your time, let's see how many number of questions have come the previous year and for how many marks, and how many marks can you miss if you do not study this particular chapter. So for the previous year, in the year 2021 it was 3, then it is 2, then it's 3, then again it is 2. Now for 2 questions, just think of, you answered it correctly, you got 4 marks for each question. So 2 into 4, it is 8 marks. You could get what, children? You could get 8 marks. Now can you miss 8 marks? Obviously no. Now over here also it is 3, till then also it is 12 marks. Again, you cannot afford to miss these marks, which is why we thought that we definitely have to cover this topic. Now what did we complete in the previous session? I told you introduction to the chapter and also what the contraceptive methods. Now if you have not watched that video, you can definitely watch, and if you want the PDF for the notes that I made that day, then definitely you can go join the WhatsApp channel, which might be there in the description box or in the comment box. Okay, so if you click on that, then you will be made to join a group where you can get all the access to the PDF and everything. Now, this is the question that I gave you previously. So, children who have got it correct, it's all good, and children who didn't do it, let me make it easy for you. So, the question is, which of the following contraceptive methods involve a role of hormones? As in, they are asking you, which among them, which of the contraceptive methods have a role of hormone in them? That is, with the help of the hormone only, they are able to do its action. That is, they are able to prevent fertilization or implantation or ovulation, whatever it is. But with the help of hormones, that is the question. Now, pills, I know it works on the basis of hormones, that is progesterone and estrogen combination, which works. Okay. Now, emergency contraceptives also have the same hormones that I was talking about. When you talk about barrier method, over here the examples are condom, diaphragm, cervical vault. So they are not providing any, there is no role of hormones in them, right? Rather than that, they are physically inhibiting the sperm and the ovum to meet. They are acting as a physical barrier. There is no role of hormones over here. So since this is there, I could cancel the option. Now let's look for other options where the barrier methods are mentioned. So over here, the third option also have barrier method as mentioned. So let's cancel it. I'm not even reading the next things because obviously the first point itself is wrong. Going ahead, if we talk about D, pills and emergency contraceptive is there. But when you talk about CUT, if you remember, CUT is what? Copper releasing IUD, that is copper releasing intrauterine device, that is a contraceptive which acts on the basis of copper. It releases copper, not hormones. When these coppers are being released, then these copper ions are being released. What do? They go and affect the motility of sperm. So now the sperm won't be able to move. And if it is not able to move, can it go there and fertilize the ovum? Obviously no. So again, this is a wrong option. What are we left with? We're left with B option. Let's read it. So the first one is lactational amenorrhea. What do you mean by that? That means when a woman is lactating, when a mother is breastfeeding at this point of time, in her body there will be a hormone which will be in more amount. Okay, that is known as prolactin. Okay, now this prolactin goes and says, hey GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone, stop your secretion. Now when it stops its secretion, obviously the hormones associated with GnRH will also decrease, and now when they decrease, ovulation, fertilization, menstruation, nothing will happen. So which is why a lactating woman would not be having menstruation. So if menstruation, ovulation, nothing is there, then at any point of time 2 people decide to have sexual intercourse, won't it be acting as a contraceptive? Yes. And in this contraceptive method, there is a role of hormone, which is what? Prolactin. So nowhere in your book it is given like prolactin is involved, and which is why people generally get confused. But now, since you already studied children, you should be knowing, and I told you in the previous session that I made you put star mark that hormones are being used in lactational amenorrhea. Now, are these hormones something that we are giving the body? No, the body itself is producing, so it is a natural hormone. So in the case of pills and all, you are taking hormones, synthetic hormones. That's not something your body is producing, right? So still, hormones are being used in all these contraceptive methods, which is why this is the answer. B is the correct answer. So in NEET 2019, you got already one question correct, so it is 4 marks already, okay? Going ahead, we have to talk about medical termination of pregnancy, MTP, that is today's topic, and I thought I will make it really easy for you. But if I teach you in the form of questions, you will be also thinking with me. That is what I want. So the first question, that is medical termination of pregnancy unintentional? So before answering that, I need you to know the definition of it. What do you mean by medical termination of pregnancy? As the name suggests, there is termination of pregnancy. You are terminating the pregnancy. Abortion is happening. But again, medical word is used, so probably with the help of doctors and the medical professionals, you are doing this. It is not something that is what? Unintentional. Sometimes unintentionally people, the women, the pregnant women, they fall down, or because of some hormonal fluctuations, abortion could happen. But this is not something like that. This is on her own will, or because of the situations that she is in. The abortion is happening, and this is known as medical termination of pregnancy. And this answers your first question. Is it unintentional? No, it is intentional. Children, it is what? Intentional. And also you can say it is what? Voluntary. Involuntary as in something that is not in your control. Voluntary means something that is there in your control. Now, what do you mean by definition? So, as I said, it is what? Termination. Termination of pregnancy before full term. Okay, before the child is fully born, you are terminating the pregnancy, and obviously I'll just mark it here. It has to be intentional or voluntary. That is what you mean by medical termination of pregnancy. Going ahead with the next question that we have, since when it is legal in India? So in India, is it legal or not? So other countries are still fighting for it. So in some countries, medical termination of pregnancy is still not legal. But in India, we are lucky, it is legal. Why do I say we are lucky? Because there are so many situations where the woman has to undergo medical termination of pregnancy, and if it is not legal, then it could have become a very big issue, right? So obviously it is legal in India. And from what year, children? 1971. Will you remember it? 1971. From that point of time, it is legal in India. I don't know why the text appears to be so big, but anyways, is there some act in India regarding MTP? Okay, it is legal, but there has to be some act, as in some laws pertaining to it, that when a person should be doing MTP. There should be otherwise what will happen? All the women who are getting pregnant, probably without having a proper root cause, they could undergo MTP, and it could harm their body as well as the fetus who is growing there. Obviously, they don't want the fetus, but it could harm their body as well. So there has to be certain acts which lingers around this particular law. So what is that act that we already have? I'll just write, I'm not writing medical termination of pregnancy again. I'll just write MTP Amendment Act, and it was put down in the year 2017. So this is 1971, just twist the term, okay, just twist the term, add this one over here, it becomes 2017, okay, what is it? 2017, please remember it. Now, going ahead, we will see what all does this act say, okay, we will see about that. Can abortion be done in any month? So this is something that the Act says. Abortion cannot be done any month as you wish. There is some duration. That is, before 12 weeks 12 weeks. 12 weeks meaning 3 months. It is definitely okay to undergo medical termination of pregnancy. Now, it becomes a difficult task when it is beyond 12 weeks, okay, beyond 12 weeks, when it is 24 weeks, that is when the second trimester starts off. Obviously, at this point of time, okay, you cannot risk the life of the woman who is having the baby and also the baby. It could be a huge problem. So, it is always said medical termination of pregnancy should be done before 12 weeks. After that, it could be very much risky. Okay. Now, going ahead, in what situation can it be done? Now, over here, I want to stress on this thing again and again. They could ask you how many months, they could ask you how many weeks. So, please not get confused there. It is 12 weeks, 3 months. Okay. So, in every month, there are 4 weeks. So, if you calculate 3 into 4, it becomes 12. Okay. Now, in what situation can it be done? Can anyone, have MTP? Can anyone do MTP as in such? No, there are certain situations. What is this situation? First thing, there is unprotected coitus. Okay, there is unprotected coitus. Someone is having intercourse without using any protection. Second thing, or failure of there is failure of the protection or the contraceptives that are being used at this point of time. Also, you can undergo what? Medical termination of pregnancy. Or there are certain situations where women are being raped, which is a sad thing that happens, but at this point of time also people can undergo medical termination of pregnancy. So, unprotected coitus, now again that is one thing. Now, if you are having coitus and it is the protection and everything barrier that you use is failing off, that is when you can undergo medical termination of pregnancy. And also, if there is rape happening, then also this particular thing can be done. Going ahead, is it misused? Is this particular procedure misused? Yes, definitely it is misused. Why? How? Can you think of that? We learned in the introduction part of the chapter that there is something which is known as amniocentesis. Now, with the help of amniocentesis, what was happening, children? If you remember, if the child is there, around the child there will be amniotic fluid, yeah, which will be having the cells of the child's body, okay, that shedded off from the child's body. Now, with the help of these cells, seeing the genetics and everything, people can identify the sex of the child. Now, once the sex of the child is identified and it comes out to be female, okay, and it comes out to be female, people, okay, some people, they go for MTP, that is medical termination of pregnancy. So, basically it is misused and it increases what? Female feticides. But now, since all of you are educated, I know whatever the sex of the child be, it is always good to have a child. That is more than a blessing. That everyone, there are a huge number of line in the infertility clinics and something like that. Why? Because our whole system has changed. What we eat, what we drink, everything is going to affect our body, and in this way it has already affected our body, such that the young couples, there are so many young couples in the infertility clinic. Even I did my internship there, I could see so many people coming on there in the regard of infertility. Well, at this point of time, if you do not want the female child, then probably just give it to someone else who need it. Yeah. So, but obviously killing is not an option. So, medical termination of pregnancy is that, and apart from that, there are so many things that you need to know. We will go through it once more, okay, with the help of NCERT. So, it is intentional, it is voluntary. What do you mean by that? It is termination of pregnancy before the full term. And when was it, when got it legal, when did it go, when did it get legal in India? It got legal in India in the year 1971. Now, are there any acts surrounding it? Yes, there is an act which is known as Medical Termination of Pregnancy Amendment Act, which was given in the year 2017, right? According to which a person should be doing MTP before 12 weeks of pregnancy. After that, it could be risky for the child as well as the mother. So majorly the mother, yeah. In what situation can it be done? Medical termination of pregnancy, can it be done? It can be done when when people are having unprotected coitus, that is sexual intercourse. Apart from that, there is a failure in the protection barrier that they used. Third thing, if a person is being raped and obviously it is not her will, then they have to undergo medical termination of pregnancy. Now, is it misused? Yes, it is misused. People do amniocentesis, find out the sex of the child, comes out to be female, and then kill the child with the help of MTP, which is obviously a misuse. Going ahead, let's read the NCERT that we have. Intentional or voluntary termination of pregnancy before full term is known as medical termination of pregnancy or induced abortion. What do you call it? Induced abortion. So this is one thing that you have to write it over there as well. Please write it over there. It is not natural. You are doing it, which is why it is known as induced abortion. So these small terms you never know when it gives you a question. Next thing. Or do you have nearly 45 to 50 million MTPs are performed in a year. Now the numbers have increased. Okay, so before it was 45 to 50 million, now it is 70 million. Okay, in a year all over the world, which accounts to 1/5 of the total number of conceived pregnancies in a year. That means if 5 people are getting pregnant, out of that 1 person is undergoing MTP. Now, whether to accept legalized MTP or not is being debated upon in many countries due to emotional, ethical, religious and social issues involved in it. Government of India legalized MTP in the year 1971 with some strict conditions to avoid its misuse. Such restrictions are all the more important to check indiscriminate and illegal female feticides, which is why again it has a check. Otherwise people will obviously go kill the girl child because of so and so reason, which is obviously not something to be proud of. Yes. Why MTP? Obviously the answer is to get rid of unwanted pregnancy, either due to casual unprotected intercourse, as I said, or failure of contraceptive used during coitus or rapes. What? Unprotected coitus. Second thing, failure of contraceptives during the coitus or rapes. MTPs are also essential in certain cases where continuation of pregnancy could be harmful for or fatal even to the mother and the fetus or both. So basically there is one more point that I needed to add over here. I'll just write it. Okay. When it becomes fatal, as in life threatening, okay, for mother and the, where is it, and the child. At this point of time also MTP can be done. Going ahead, yes. MTPs are considered relatively safe during first trimester. First trimester as in first 3 months, that is 12 weeks of pregnancy. Second trimester abortions are much more riskier. One disturbing trend observed is that majority of MTPs are performed illegally by unqualified coacs, which are not even only unsafe but could also be fatal too. So what happens is that children, majorly children who are not very much aware of what is good and what is bad, and there are so many things. Okay, so suppose a child who is not of who has not entered the adolescence as of now, okay, or probably is not in that period reproductive, I should not be saying that. Basically, when a child is not mentally prepared, that is more correct word, when a child is not mentally prepared for being pregnant at this point of time, if they get pregnant, what will happen? Obviously the next step that they could think of is to get abortion done, right? So apart from mental, it's financial also. It's all about a child. Not everyone is capable of raising a child, right? So obviously it's a big task to do. Now these people go on to abortion. Now when they reach over there, they find people saying that, okay, we could do it for you. Okay, we could do the procedure for you. But they never realize that these people who agree to do this could not be well versed with doing this particular procedure, and again it could be fatal for you. They would not be telling that that it should not be done during this particular period. You have already completed 3 months, probably now you should not be doing. They won't be saying that, because it's money that matters there. So basically that is one disturbing trend that has been seen, because when you go to doctors, obviously they ask 10,000 questions. Both it is something that is needs a proper planning. You cannot undergo medical termination of pregnancy without knowing about it, because it does have consequences in your bodies as well. Yeah. Now going ahead, second, as I said, yes, another dangerous trend is the misuse of amniocentesis to determine the sex of the unborn child. Frequently, if the fetus is found to be female, it is followed by MTP, which is totally against what is legal. So this is exactly what I taught. There is nothing extra over there. Now such practices should be avoided, because these are dangerous both for the young mother and the fetus. So it's not just about the fetus, but also the mother who is undergoing MTP, it's risky for them as well. Effective counseling on the need to avoid unprotected coitus and the risk factors involved in illegal abortion, as well as providing more healthcare facilities, could reverse the mentioned unhealthy trend. So what all could we do? Basically counseling on what? On the need of to avoid unprotected coitus. So now, even if now people are doing unprotected coitus, then it is not something to be proud of, because you have all the things available in the medicine shop everywhere. So obviously you can have protected coitus, and if you are having protected coitus, then probably you do not have to come to this particular stage where you have to think about MTP. Right. And also you are making people aware about the risk factors which are involved in illegal abortions. When you are going ahead with abortion with the people whom you do not even know properly, then it could be riskier to you. If you are aware of that, you could avoid that. Now going ahead, providing more healthcare facilities, okay, which is again something that could reverse all the unwanted effects. Now there is a pink box in the new NCERT towards the side, where you can find this statement. Let's read it out once. The Medical Termination of Pregnancy Amendment Act 2017, as I said, was enacted by the Government of India with the intention of reducing the incidence of illegal abortion and consequent maternal mortality and morbidity, as in to avoid the mothers getting killed. That is mortality, as in they die. Okay, the death rate, the death is known as mortality. So you want to decrease the amount of maternal mortality and also infant mortality. It's not just maternal mortality. According to this act, a pregnancy may be terminated on certain considered grounds within first 12 weeks of pregnancy, on the opinion of one registered medical practitioner. So registered, you have to have an opinion of what? One registered, you see the term, registered medical practitioner. If the pregnancy has lasted more than 12 weeks but fewer than 24 weeks, 2 registered medical practitioners must be of opinion. So if 12 weeks have been passed, now we are moving ahead, but it has still not reached 24 weeks yet. So during this period also, MTP can be thought of, but again you need the permission of 2 registered medical practitioners who could be checking on you and seeing whether it is possible or not. Okay, it is very important point. Now, formed in good faith that required ground exists, the grounds of such termination of pregnancies are, okay, let's see the grounds on the basis of which termination could happen. The continuation of pregnancy would involve a risk to the life of the pregnant woman. So at this point of time, if a woman is pregnant and if continuing that pregnancy could risk her life, at this point of time, obviously they can have abortion, induced abortion to be done, or of grave injury, physical or mental health. So basically, if it is affecting the physical, mental health and anything of the woman who is pregnant, then also they can undergo induced abortion. Next thing, there is a substantial risk that for the child that is born would suffer from such physical or mental abnormalities as to be seriously handicapped. For example, if the child which is there in the womb, he or she is having certain physical abnormalities which could later risk their life in future. At this point of time also, continuing with pregnancy could be a difficult task for the parents as well as the infant that is being born. Right, so at this point in time also MTP could be considered. So these are the 2 grounds. So continuing it could cause a problem. At that point it can be induced, abortion can be induced. Second thing, when the child's health is also not that great, okay, so they have some physical or mental handicapness at this point of time also, people can undergo medical termination of pregnancy. So please remember this particular point, that is before 12 weeks one practitioner, after 12 weeks but before 24 weeks then it has to be 2 practitioners, and mostly this is preferred, before this is preferred, after this it becomes out to be what? Risky. Fine. I hope you understood medical termination of pregnancy, and now we go ahead, let's solve some PYQs. Medical termination of pregnancy is considered safe up to how many weeks of pregnancy? We just studied now, and now you might be realizing why was I stressing on this point. Well, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 18 weeks, 6 weeks, it is 3 months, so it is what? 12 weeks. I hope you got the answer. Now there are certain questions which I will be putting later on. As of now I am not putting it, okay, I have certain questions, later on towards the end I will be putting that. Now the next topic that we have is sexually transmitted infections. So these infections, as the name suggests, are something which could be transmitted from one person to the other person during sexual intercourse. These are something that is passed on through the body fluids that we are going to study as of now. Not all body fluids, I will tell you what all. First thing, sexually transmitted diseases are also known as VD, RTI, STDs. Let's see what do they mean. VD as in venereal diseases. Okay, it is what? Venereal diseases. RTI as in reproductive tract infection. Okay, and STD as in sexually transmitted diseases. There are 3 other names for sexually transmitted infection. Venereal, the term comes from the Greek goddess name, which has to do something with romantic relationship, which is why venereal obviously comes out to be something that has relation with sexual intercourse, which is why it is known as venereal diseases. Now RTI, reproductive tract infection, because obviously the reproductive tract is the one that is going to get affected, and then sexually transmitted diseases as well. Now how it is spread? It is spread with the help of what? The fluids that are being released during the sexual intercourse. Okay, so basically vaginal fluid or the secretion, seminal plasma, everything, anything of it, if it is infected, then obviously this is how it is spread. Okay, so there is a correct word for it, just a second. Where was it? Okay, basically anyways, I'll just write fluid discharge, which includes vaginal, which includes the penis, everything, all the secretions out there. Okay, the fluid discharge, the sexual fluid discharge, that will be much more correct. Now there are different types of diseases, okay, and obviously it is of different types because there are different causative agents. Okay, so it could be a bacteria that is causing this disease, it could be a virus that could be causing this disease, or it could be a protozoan as well. But before going ahead, we have to remember these names. What do you call it? Venereal disease, reproductive tract infection, and sexually transmitted diseases. Now how is it spread? It is spread during or after the sexual coitus. Okay, basically it is happening because you are having sexual intercourse with the person who is infected already. Okay, now it happens, how it is spread? With the help of the fluid discharges that happens during the coitus. Now over here there are different causative agents. Bacteria is there, virus is there, protozoan is there. Now let's see the diseases that are associated. So there is an easy way to remember it. Okay, I don't know if it's easy, it would be easy for you, but still I will try. So there is a disease known as syphilis. Okay, there's a disease known as gonorrhea, and there's a disease known as chlamydiasis. Okay, syphilis gone crazy. You can remember like that if you want. Why I am telling you again, it is a question. Okay, that counts, even though it's not being mentioned in your NCERT textbook. This is something extra that comes because in human health and diseases, you will be studying about certain diseases and stuff like that. So it has come, so we have to study it as well. So there's no option. So syphilis gone crazy. You can remember like that, SGC. All these diseases are caused by bacteria. Now the name of the bacteria again is important. What is it? I'll start with gonorrhea, or basically here, chlamydiasis is caused by chlamydia. Okay, it is caused by chlamydia. Gonorrhea is caused by Neisseria or Neisseria. Either way, you can remember it. Neisseria. Okay. Now over here, it is syphilis is caused by Treponema pallidum. Fine. Now I'm not sure about the spelling. I'll just check. Okay. But this is the set of diseases that are bacterial. Okay. Now, what are the causative agents? Chlamydiasis is caused by chlamydia. Gonorrhea is caused by Neisseria. Both sound similar. Neisseria, gonorrhea at the end, right? Rhymes. Now, syphilis is caused by Treponema pallidum. I'm not sure about the name. I'll just have to check once. Okay. Now, protozoan, if we talk about that, there is only one protozoan disease, is trichomoniasis. Okay, and it is caused by Trichosomonas. So I know it's difficult for you, but how can you remember this? Write it. Write gonorrhea, Neisseria, gonorrhea, Neisseria, gonorrhea, Neisseria 3 times. One time you write it while seeing, with seeing, and then you write it without seeing. Same thing for chlamydiasis as well as syphilis. Now, it's not like a written test is there. You just have to choose the correct options, right? So, you can choose the correct options as well. Now, over here, after ST comes, so ST is there. After A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. So basically after G only N comes, so G and N are kind of close, so you can remember like G and N, and CC is the same thing. Okay. Now trichomoniasis is caused by Trichosomonas. I will recommend you to learn this, it is important. Okay. Going ahead, if we talk about the viral diseases, that is something crazy. The first viral disease that you have is genital warts. And it is very common. It is caused by human papilloma virus. It is caused by human papilloma virus, which can later, if it persists and stuff like that happens, it could even cause what? Tell me. It could even cause cancer, which is why people say please take the HPV vaccine. It is very much important. Going ahead, what do we have? The most famous, HIV AIDS. It is acquired immunodeficiency disease. Okay, that you see over here. Now, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome is the name for AIDS. Now, it is caused by HIV, which is the causative agent. So, I'll just call human immunodeficiency virus, that is HIV. Okay. Going ahead with the next disease that we have is hepatitis. Hepatitis B, caused by hepatitis B virus. So easy to remember, right? Now, after that we have herpes. This herpes is genital herpes. Okay. There is oral herpes and genital herpes as well. So this is going to affect the genital organs mainly. So herpes is caused by, again, it is herpes. This is very simple. You can remember like that. Herpes simplex virus. Okay. So children, all these diseases that you are seeing over here, they are sexually transmitted diseases which you can get if the other person, the sexual partner, has it already. Okay, now causative agents can be a bacteria, can be a protozoan, can be a viral agent as well. The name of the diseases varies. Over here, as I said, you can just remember syphilis gone crazy. So syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydiasis, they are all caused by bacteria. They are bacterial diseases. And what are the name of the bacteria? Over here for gonorrhea you have Neisseria. For chlamydiasis it is chlamydia, and for syphilis it is Treponema pallidum. I just want to confirm it once. Okay, and yeah, and protozoan it is trichomoniasis, okay, and it is caused by Trichosomonas. For virus you have these many: genital warts, HIV AIDS, hepatitis B and herpes, genital herpes. Now over here you have to remember the name of the organism that is causing it. For example, human papilloma virus is causing genital warts, human immunodeficiency virus is causing HIV AIDS or AIDS just generally, and hepatitis B is caused by hepatitis B virus, herpes is caused by herpes simplex virus. Now I'll tell you one more thing, that is, out of all these diseases that you see, there are 3 diseases which is not curable. There are 3 diseases which is not curable, and those are this. They are incurable. Please, can you remember? It starts from H. So HIV AIDS I say, please, it's just for your understanding, okay? So all these 3 that you see over here, they are all incurable sexually transmitted infections. Please remember it. It has come in the previous year questions, okay, so we cannot miss that. Okay, now just give me a second for the, okay, it's just E over here, that's the only difference, rest everything is same. Okay, it's Treponema. Yeah, going ahead, what do we have? Okay, now sexually transmitted infections, they can have early symptoms. Oh, okay, there's one more thing that I want to tell, that is, as I said, usually these diseases are being transported, not usually, all of them are for sure transmitted when a person is active in sexual intercourse and if the person is having, as I said. But certain diseases like HIV AIDS, hepatitis B and herpes could also be transported with the help of blood transfusions. Okay, with the help of blood transfusions also it could be caused. So it's not like for sure sexual intercourse has to happen. If a person is getting the blood from some other person who is having HIV AIDS or hepatitis B, they can also get it. So basically HIV AIDS, hepatitis B and everything can be caused due to blood transfusions as well, if the blood has the infectious agent, that is the virus. Now going ahead, there is early symptoms, there is symptoms at the later stages. We are going to study about it one by one, but I'm thinking I'll complete it here itself. That will be much better for you, okay, rather than making it very long. So infections or diseases which are transmitted through sexual intercourse are known as sexually transmitted infections, or venereal disease or reproductive tract infection. Okay, gonorrhea, syphilis, genital herpes, chlamydiasis, genital warts, trichomoniasis, hepatitis B, and of course the most discussed infection in the recent years, HIV leading to AIDS, are the most common STIs. Among these, HIV infection is dangerous and is discussed in the human health and disease chapter as well. Some of these infections like hepatitis B and HIV can be transmitted by sharing of injection needles, surgical instruments, etc. Why is it happening? Why it is getting transmitted? Because the blood is being involved over here. Okay, so this is also a famous question. As I said, rather than saying it directly, they have made use of injection needles, surgical instruments and everything, because all these things could be have been in contact with the blood. Okay, with infected person, transfusion of blood directly or from infected mother to the fetus also. So if the mother is infected, there are chances that surely the fetus will also be infected. So if we're talking about hepatitis B and HIV, so again I'll write it over here if you want. Also between mother and the child. Also, okay, it's not always, also if the lady is pregnant and if the blood has been matched, and it happens, the blood definitely, when the baby is born at this point of time, the blood definitely mixes to some extent. Yes, except for hepatitis B, genital herpes and HIV infections, other diseases are completely curable. So you know I told you these are diseases that are not incurable, rest everything are curable if detected early and treated properly. That is one particular thing. Early symptoms of the most of these are minor and include itching, fluid discharge, slight pain and swelling. How can I remember it? So just remember itching first, okay? Just remember itching first. Now itching will obviously after some point of time it will cause swelling. Now if swelling is there, there will be pain as well, and if pain is there at the end, there are high chances that fluid discharge could also happen. So let's write it over here now. First thing, what is there? Itching. Because of itching, what could happen? Swelling. Now if swelling is there, then pain could persist, and also there could be what? Fluid discharge. Now this is a way to remember the early symptoms. Going ahead, what do we have? In the genital region, this is all in the genital region, okay? Because obviously you're you're dealing with reproductive tract infections. Now, infected females, if you talk about females, may often be asymptomatic. That means they do not show symptoms and hence may remain undetected for so long. It can happen for so long. Absence of or less significant symptoms in the early stages of infection and the social stigma attached to STI deter the infected person from going for timely detection and proper treatment. So now people, rather than being bothered about themselves, are always bothered about what others think. So at this point of time when they think like that and they do not go for treatment, obviously it could harm them at the end. So this is not something that my children should be doing. If there is something, you should be going and seeing a doctor. It's a very common thing that happens. Okay, now absence or less significant symptoms, we studied this. Okay, so this could lead to complications later, which include pelvic inflammatory diseases, PVD, abortion, stillbirth, ectopic pregnancy, infertility and even cancer. What is it? Let's see. First thing, it's the grave symptoms that happens later on, okay? Pelvic inflammatory diseases, which you call as PID, okay? Oh, I don't know why the handwriting is coming in this bad way. Just give me 1 second, children. What can I do to make it look better? Let me write it off. Pelvic inflammatory diseases, okay? That is PID. Second thing that we have is what? It could also lead to abortions, because obviously the genital part is getting affected. So abortion could also happen. Stillbirth could happen. What do you mean by stillbirth? That is, baby that is born is dead. That is what you mean by stillbirth. Apart from stillbirth, what could happen? Ectopic pregnancy. Now that is very much important. What do you mean by ectopic pregnancy? Pregnancy at a place apart from the uterus. So babies, usually the embryo development takes place in the uterus. Now if the embryo development is taking place anywhere else, it is known as ectopic pregnancy. What do you call it? Ectopic pregnancy. Out of the topic, you can remember like that. So topic is uterus, out of it is happening. So for example, in fallopian tube, sometimes the child develops. At this point of time, obviously it could be very much difficult for a woman to live, right? It could be obviously leading to death, or there could be need of some operation to be done immediately, which could save at least one of their lives. Now that is one thing. Apart from that, going ahead, if this is not treated, it could also lead to what? Cancer as well. Okay, so early symptoms are these things could be sorted out if you go to a doctor. Now if you do not look for the symptoms later on, if you do not treat them well, obviously it could lead to pelvic inflammatory disease, that is in the pelvic region. This is the pelvic region. Before the over here, the chest region is known as thoracic region. Okay, the first region that you have, it is known as what? Thoracic region. Below that you have abdominal region. Now the lower part of the abdominal region, where the leg is there, this particular area, it is subdivided into known as pelvic cavity or pelvis region. So basically, the pelvis region is a region where all the reproductive organs are being present. So pelvic inflammatory diseases also could be caused. Abortion, as you know, I told you, stillbirth as in the child which is born is not alive. Ectopic pregnancy as in pregnancy anywhere apart from uterus. Okay, and it could also lead to cancer if not treated. Going ahead, what do we have? And infertility. And infertility, which will be our next topic. So let's read that, but before that, let's complete this. STIs are a major threat to a healthy society. Therefore, prevention or early detection and cure of these diseases are given prime consideration under the Reproductive Health Care Program, RCH program. Remember, Reproductive and Child Health Care Program, RCH. Though all persons are vulnerable to these infections, their incidences are reported to be very high among persons in the age group of 15 to 24. Why? Because over here, people just want to try out new things which they are not aware of. And while trying this thing, okay, you are in this phase where you want to try everything out, okay, but when you are trying everything out, basically, first thing, you should be aware of what could happen next. If you are aware of what could happen next, you will obviously take all the precautions, okay. The age group to which you also belong, so you guys belong, there is no reason to panic because prevention is possible. Please use contraceptives. Now, one could be free of these infections by following the simple principles that are given below. Let's see the principle, which is very much important if you are preparing for boards, okay. Avoid sex with unknown partners or multiple partners. When you do that, there are high chances of having infections. Okay, so please avoid having multiple partners as well as having sex with unknown partners. Next thing, always try to use condoms during coitus. That is a contraceptive method, so you have to use it. You studied about it. Now, in case of doubt, one should go to a qualified doctor for early detection and get complete treatment if diagnosed with infection. So, it's not like going to a random doctor, it's going to a perfect qualified doctor where you could get solution for your problem, okay. So, if you are missing this step, obviously, there could be lots of trouble later on. So, these are the things that you should be taking care of, and I just want you to remember the names of all the diseases. I will just repeat it once more because I know it could be tough for you to remember it by your own self. So, just repeat it with me, okay. So, the bacterial diseases, they are 3 in number: syphilis, gone crazy. So, syphilis, okay, go no, and then just Rhea. Rhea is your friend's name probably, so you just put go no Rhea, okay. Next thing, chlamydiasis, that you have to remember, okay. It is what? Chlamydiasis. Now going ahead, what do we have? Okay, what is a causative agent? A bacteria, obviously. What's the name? Treponema pallidum, okay. Gonorrhea, it is Neisseria. And just a second. Oh, it has went there, okay. Spelling of Neisseria is N-I-E as far as I remember. Neisseria, gonorrhea, Neisseria. Chlamydiasis is caused by chlamydia. Now this looks clean. You see, my handwriting is not that bad. I don't know why it appears to be that bad when we are at the top. Now going ahead, what do we have? Next is the protozoan disease. I will just write over here because there is only one, right? Next is the protozoan disease, that is trichomoniasis. Trichomoniasis. It is caused by, what is a causative agent, children? It is caused by, same name you can remember, Trichomonas. Fine. Going ahead, there is viral disease, okay. Let's see what are those. First one that we have is genital warts, and it is caused by human papilloma virus. I am not writing the whole thing, just writing HPV, okay. Going ahead, what do we have? The next viral disease, which I will say HIV AIDS. It is AIDS actually, but for you to remember, I am writing HIV AIDS, which is caused by, obviously you know the causative agent, right? It is HIV virus, human immunodeficiency virus. Next thing that we have is hepatitis B, and this is caused by hepatitis B virus itself. This is caused by hepatitis B virus. Now the simplest thing, if you remember, it is genital herpes. I'll just write herpes, and it is caused by human syphilis virus, HSV. Okay, now among them, 3 of them are incurable. It cannot be, okay, since it is not being seen there, where can I write? Can I write it here? Okay, I'll write it on this side. They are incurable. Okay, now out of them, two of them, is it visible? Can be spread through blood transfusions, or basically anything that is related to blood. You can use the infected needles, surgical tools, or it can be from mother to fetus. Okay, I hope you will remember this now. Fine. Now going ahead with the question, which one of the following statement is incorrect? Okay, this is extra PYQ. I want you to read this question and give me the answer right now when you are listening to this. Okay, I'll do this later at the end of the session. Which one of the following statement is correct regarding sexually transmitted diseases? The first option is, a person may contract syphilis by sharing milk with one already suffering from the disease. Second, hemophilia is one of the STDs. C, genital herpes and sickle cell anemia are both STDs. If you remember, in the previous session I spoke about hemophilia, I spoke about sickle cell anemia and everything. The chance of a 5 years boy contracting an STD are very little. It's not saying nil, it is saying very little. And that is one question that you have for yourself. Just put down your answers right now. Now let's solve this question that we have. Match the following sexually, okay, for that you can take a screenshot and try. Okay, you can just pause the video. Try the answer, write it over there. Sorry, try the question, write the answer, and then move on. Okay, pause the video, then move on. Next question that we have. Match the following sexually transmitted diseases with their causative agent and select the correct option. So over here you have diseases, and then we have to find the causative agent. So I told you, right, these will come. So in the year 2017 it has come. Now can you take the risk of not studying this? Obviously no. So gonorrhea is caused by Neisseria. Oh, with this just a small spelling change, not smelling change. Spelling change is required. Neisseria. Okay. Yeah. So gonorrhea with Neisseria, syphilis with Treponema, genital warts with, tell me. Genital warts with what? Human papillomavirus, and AIDS with HIV. Let's see. A with 2, okay. B with 4, B with 3, and this is the answer. So just have to, if you know the first option only, you got the answer correct. As simple as that, I told you. Going ahead, what do we have? Which one of the following does correctly match a sexually transmitted disease with its pathogen? Again a question, it came in 1994, but still it's being repeated again and again. So syphilis is caused by Treponema pallidum, it's correct. First is correct, so we don't have to go to the next, but still. Gonorrhea is caused by Neisseria, you know that. These things we didn't study because we don't have it, so it's okay, you got the answer at the first itself. Okay, now the next thing and the last thing that we have for today is infertility and art. So just read, let's just read it first and then try to understand, and then we will solve a lot of things. A discussion on reproductive health is incomplete without a mention of infertility, right? So people, as I said, generally suffer from infertility. A large number of couples all over the world, including India, are infertile. That is, what do you mean by infertility? That is, you are unable to produce the fetus, you are unable to give birth to a fetus because of so reasons. Okay, They are unable to produce children in spite of unprotected sexual cohabitation, as in even after doing sexual intercourse without using any protection during the time period, during the fertile period, at that point also, if a person is not having a child, that means that person is suffering from infertility, okay, or the couple is basically suffering from infertility. The reason for this could be many. It could be physical, okay, it could be a physical reason, probably sexual arousal won't be happening, okay, the penis which has to be erect is not being erect, this can be a problem, or congenital, that is, it could be a genetic problem. It could be because of certain diseases, okay, so probably people who are suffering from PCOD or PCOS, which is so common, they also have lesser chances of being pregnant. Why? Because there are hormonal changes happening in their body which does not allow the implantation process to happen properly. Yeah, so there's diseases, there could be drugs that you are taking in, okay, drugs as in medicines that you could be taking in which could cause a problem, and also the other things, for example, smoking, everything has a root cause in what? Infertility. Immunological or even psychological things as well. Immunological as in your body itself is fighting, for example, something foreign coming inside your body is just killing the other cell. A sperm is getting killed because it is foreign. So all this thing could be a reason. Apart from that, psychological stress could also be a reason. Now, when the psychology is messed up, all the hormonal balance in your body is also messed up, which is why no normal reproductive cycle would be there. Okay. In India, often female is blamed for the couple being childless, but more often than not, the problem lies in the male partner. It would be wrong to say that, but yes, it could be a problem with anyone in the couple, okay, which is why infertility could happen. But yes, it is said like this previously, before people were educated, okay, much educated. So at that point of time, females were the only one who were blamed for everything. So which is why it was said like that, but it's not exactly true. Specialized healthcare units, that is infertility clinics, could help diagnosis and corrective treatment of some of these disorders and enable these couples to have children. Obviously, if they have some units where they could be taught about certain things, there could be certain, technology is being used, there are high chances that they also could have a baby. Now, however, where such corrections are not possible, the couples could be assisted to have children through certain special techniques commonly known as assisted reproductive technologies, that is ART. What is it? Assisted reproductive technology. Okay, I hope that is clear. We go ahead. We will see what do you mean by assisted reproductive technology. Assisted as in this is not something that is happening naturally. It is being assisted. Works? Let's see. So steps for formation of test tube baby. So that is one major thing that is going to be studied over here. In vitro fertilization or IVF, fertilization outside the body in almost similar conditions as that in the body. IVF means fertilization outside the body, that is meaning of in vitro. In vitro as in the lab. In the lab fertilization is happening. This thing has to be clear. In vitro, I'll just write it somewhere. In vitro means in lab. Okay, in lab what is happening, children? Next thing, that is what? Fertilization is happening in the lab. That is not, it is not happening inside the body. Followed by embryo transfer. There is something that is known as embryo transfer as well. That is, after fertilization, whatever embryo is being formed, it is being transferred. So obviously in the lab it is happening, so embryo has to be transferred, right? So is one such method. In this method, popularly known as test tube baby program, ova from the wife of the donor and the sperm from the husband or the donor are collected and are induced to form zygote under stimulated conditions. So what is happening, children? So suppose there is a woman, there is a man, okay? Woman is made to produce more number of ova, that is the egg, okay? They are induced with gonadotropin hormone so that they overstimulate and there will be more than one number of ova being produced at once, ovulated at once. So basically that happens. So ova is being collected and from the men, sperm is being collected. Now it can be taken from the donor as well. So donor female and the donor male can also contribute the ova and the sperm. Okay, so this is being done because something is a problem inside the body, some problem is there, which is why the ova and the sperm, they are not probably fusing together inside the body, which is why fertilization is being done in the lab itself. Okay. Now after this, obviously when the ovum and the sperm are made to fuse, they will be giving rise to what? Zygote. Okay. Now let's see what happens next. Are induced to form zygote under stimulated conditions in the laboratory. The zygote or early embryos with up to 8 blastomere could then be transferred. So basically, after the zygote is formed, you can either transfer the zygote itself, that is in the single cell stage, or you can make it divide. When it goes up to 8 cell stage, it becomes an embryo, right? Okay, you can transfer in this form itself, or you can transfer in this form, but where are you transferring this in? Where are you transferring this in? In the female body. Where in the female body? In the reproductive tract. Where in the reproductive tract? That is the most important question. In the fallopian tube. So obviously you cannot directly put this embryo in the uterus, because in the fallopian tube only you might have seen the morula is formed. The morula keeps on dividing, and then it moves down to the uterus. After like there are 100 cells being formed when it's there in the uterus itself, right? So obviously you cannot go and put it in the uterus. Instead of that, you put in the fallopian tube. This is very important. I do not know how many times should I say very. Okay. So basically again I am reading, the zygote or early embryos with up to 8 blastomeres, not more than that, could then be transferred into the fallopian tube, and this process of transport of the zygote or the embryo, 8-celled embryo, in the fallopian tube is known as ZIFT. What do you call it? Zygote intra-fallopian transfer. So since zygote can also be put, which is why it is known as zygote intra-fallopian tube transfer. So intra as in inside. Inside where? Fallopian tube. It's as simple as that. Okay, you do not have to muck things up. And now embryos with more than 8 blastomeres. Now there are chances that this particular embryo could divide further. It could be more than 8. Okay, this is what? More than 8 blastomeres. Then what? Then it is directly then it is put in the uterus. Now it is not put in the fallopian tube, it is put in the uterus. Now when you are putting something in the uterus, what do you call? Intra word will be coming inside the uterus. So intrauterine transfer. That's all. Inside the uterus it is being transferred. So when it is in the fallopian tube, and when zygote or the embryo, which is below 8 cell stage, when it is put, it is known as zygote intra-fallopian tube transfer, okay, or fallopian transfer, and over here it is known as intrauterine transfer, because it is put inside the uterus when it is more than 8 cell stage, when it is in the more than 8 cell stage. Now to complete this further development. So after that, obviously after ova and sperm are being fused externally, because it was not happening internally, now obviously they can use the embryo or the zygote, put it inside the body and let the whole procedure happen inside the female's body itself. Okay. Now embryos formed by in vivo fertilization. What do you mean by in vivo? If in vitro means in lab, in vivo means inside the body. Okay. In vivo fertilization, that is fusion of gametes within the female, also could be used for such transfer to assist those females who cannot conceive. Okay, what is happening? So basically what could be done? Again, embryos from, okay, what is done? Embryo is being taken from the in vivo fertilization, that is fusion is happening inside the body of the female, and now this embryo is transferred to another female who cannot conceive, who is not able to conceive. That is all, that could also be done. That is what they are trying to say. Okay. So to make it easy, let's break things down over here. First thing, okay, first thing is in vitro fertilization. What do you mean by in vitro fertilization? In vitro fertilization means it is happening in the lab. In vitro means fertilization in the lab. Yeah. Now what is happening? There is a couple Okay, there is a couple who is not able to produce a baby because of so reasons, that is fertilization is not happening. They are producing ova, they are producing sperm, but still fertilization is not happening. In their case what is happening? The ova is taken, the sperm is taken, and it is made to fuse, and now it gives a zygote. Okay, this zygote can be put in the female fallopian tube. When it is being put in the female fallopian tube, what do you call it? Zygote inside fallopian transfer. Okay, it can be zygote, or there is one more option. This zygote can keep on dividing and formed up to 8 cell, that is 8 blastomeres. Then also it can be put inside the female fallopian tube. This is also known as zygote intrafallopian transfer. Until 8 cell is fine. Okay. Now going ahead, if this has again divided, okay, and if now it is more than 8 cell, okay, more than 8 cell, then this particular embryo is not put in the fallopian tube, no, but it is put in the uterus because it's time for implantation. Okay, so it is put where in the uterus. Okay, now this is known as, since it is being put in the uterus, it is known as intrauterine transfer. Got it? It is known as intrauterine transfer. Done? Now this, as I said, again after 8 cell, after 8 blastomeres are formed, then only this could happen. I will mark it in yellow. This is known as IUT, intrauterine transfer, and this is known as ZIFT. ZIFT and GIFT are different, okay, so please do not get confused. This is ZIFT. This everything comes under test tube baby formation. Okay, when test tube baby, as in the baby is formed with the head, it's not like inside the test tube the baby is formed, is basically in the lab the fertilization happening, which is why it is known as test tube baby. Now apart from in vitro fertilization, there is something that is known as in vivo fertilization as well. What happens in vivo fertilization? In vivo fertilization is happening inside the female body. Inside the female body. Now the embryo which is being formed can be taken and put into some other female who is not able to conceive. So probably it could be given to them as well. It could be given to them as well who want to conceive. Works? That is all about the test tube baby and everything that is over here. Okay, now let's go to the next thing, that is gift. We are going to talk about gift. Let's see what kind of gift is it. Where is the cursor? Yeah. Okay. The transfer of an ovum collected from a donor into the fallopian tube of another female who cannot produce one but can provide suitable environment for fertilization. Point to be noted, the person who is there, she cannot produce the ovum but can provide a suitable environment. So what are we going to do? Let's move on to the next thing. Over here you have a female, okay, who says, I can produce ovum, okay, and probably she can conceive as well. That is none of our thing to discuss. But the next thing is, there is another woman who says, I cannot produce ovum. I cannot produce ovum, but I can conceive, as in she has all the right features in her body, her uterus is perfectly fine for conceiving, fine. Now ovum is here, she can give this ovum to her who does not have a ovum for her own, but she have everything else in her body perfect. So this transfer of ovum to another person, This ovum is what, children? This ovum that I am talking about, isn't it a gamete? Isn't it a gamete? Yes, it is a gamete. So the transfer of gamete from one person to the other person who cannot produce one, it is act as a gift, right? So you call gamete intra-fallopian transfer. Gamete intra-fallopian transfer, GIFT, that is gift. Please remember where is it used. Again, I am telling you, this woman is not able to produce her own gamete, which is why she is taking the gamete from some other person. But provided she has everything else to get conceived, so it's not a problem. Yes, this is gift. Now we go ahead. Let's see what's next. Next is intracytoplasmic sperm injection. This is another technique, ICSI, okay. It is another specialized procedure to form an embryo. Okay, just a second, one more thing. Why am I messing with it? Yeah. Where is this gamete being transported? Into the fallopian tube, okay, you know, right? The gamete just waits in the fallopian tube, and then the male gamete comes, fuses with it, and then the zygote, the embryo and everything is formed. So gamete has to be put in the fallopian tube and nowhere else. Please remember that, okay? And it's a gamete, not an embryo, not a zygote, gamete only. Now we can go ahead with the next thing. Yeah. So ICSI is another specialized procedure to form an embryo in the laboratory. So here also embryo is being formed in the laboratory conditions only. Let's see how. In which a sperm is directly injected into the ovum. So what happens, children, in ICSI, I'll write it here itself. It is known as intracytoplasmic. That means inside cytoplasm. Sperm inside cytoplasm, you are injecting sperm. That is known as intracytoplasmic sperm injection or ICSI. So where is this particular process used? I'll tell you one basic idea. When we spoke about IVF, their in vitro fertilization, where the zygote and the ovum is being taken and when fused, it is fused with the help of ICSI, but it is not written over here. But that process is known as ICSI only, where cytoplasmic injection is being done. The sperm is being injected so that they can fuse. Vertically fertilization is happening over here and they are made to fuse to form the embryo. Okay, so that is what you mean by ICSI, but again they have not put it there, so let's also keep it separate. Let's just say it's a procedure to form an embryo outside in the laboratory itself. Now, infertility cases either due to inability of the male partner to inseminate. Okay, so infertility cases where the male partner is not able to inseminate, whatever the cause is, probably there might be erectile dysfunction or there could be anything else. Okay, so just important, very much important, it is the inability of the male partner to inseminate or due to very low sperm. So sperms are there, but the amount of sperm is very low. So if low sperms are already in our body, when in the female body sperm comes, they are being killed because it's a foreign particle, right? So you need to produce around 200 to 300 million of sperm, and if it is not being produced in that much amount, the sperm count is really less, then the chances of fertilization is also less. So that can be corrected by artificial insemination. What is it? Artificial insemination, not the AI that you talk about, that is artificial intelligence. This is artificial insemination. You're artificially inseminating, that is, you're putting the sperm inside the female body. Let's see how. In this technique, the semen collected either from the husband or a healthy donor. So for example, husband is able to produce the sperm, but due to erectile dysfunction, he was not able to inseminate. Okay, so that could be a problem. In that particular case, you just take the semen from the husband and then it is artificially introduced either into the vagina or into the uterus. So either that could be, semen could be injected artificially inside the vagina or the uterus of the female. This is known as intrauterine insemination. So that thing that we studied above, that was intrauterine transfer, where what you were doing, you were transferring an embryo there. This is intrauterine insemination, where you are inseminating a female, okay, with the help of the semen that is being produced by the husband itself or a healthy donor. If the husband is not giving enough amount of sperm, there is low sperm count, there is no point of taking sperm from this particular person. It would be taken from a donor because this particular couple wants to have a child. As simple as that. So that is what you mean by intrauterine insemination, and this comes under artificial insemination, where what is happening, I'll tell you again. Let's go to the previous, okay, let's go to this area, yeah. So this is a happy thing for female. Now let's see, when male issues is there, what is the male issue? Basically, when the person is not able to inseminate, okay, or there is low sperm count. In both these cases, what is going to happen, children? In both these cases, the male can undergo a process which is known as artificial insemination, where sperm is collected either from the husband or from the donor and is artificially put into the female reproductive tract. Now, when it is put in the vagina or the uterus, you call this, basically in the uterus, you call this intrauterine insemination. What do you call it? Intrauterine insemination. Understood? So this is this part that you see over here. It is very, very, very important. It could come. It could come. So every time the questions come from what, where, and what technique is used, if this is a situation over here. So when the woman is not able to produce her own gamete, you do gamete transfer. If the other person is ready to give, and you do gamete transfer only when this particular woman is able to conceive, then what's the point of giving the gamete if the person is not able to conceive? That is known as gamete intrafallopian transfer. This happens only, you are injecting it in the fallopian tube, nowhere else. Okay. Now, if you talk about artificial insemination, this is done where the male partner is not able to inseminate due to whatever reasons, or the sperm count is really less. Okay. At this point of time, you do artificial insemination where the sperm from the husband or the donor is being taken and it is being put in the vagina or the uterus. Now, this process where you are artificially doing this, this is known as intrauterine insemination. Done? So that's all about this as well, and we have actually completed a lot of things. Just give me a second, let me take the, yeah, over here. What was this? In vitro fertilization, where the fertilization was happening outside in the lab. Okay, fertilization was happening as in the sperm and the egg were taken, they were made to fuse. How were they made to fuse? Actually using ICSI. What is ICSI? Intracytoplasmic sperm injection, where the ovum is taken. Inside the cytoplasm of the ovum, what do you put? You are putting the male gametes, okay, and then you are making it fuse. That is the thing, okay, but we do not, they have not written it here, so let's not put it here. Now, once fusion is done, fertilization done in the lab, the zygote is formed. This zygote can be put in the fallopian tube, which is known as zygote intrafallopian transfer. Or else, if the zygote divides and forms 8-cell stage, still it can be put in the fallopian tube, still it is known as zygote intrafallopian transfer. But now, after a point when the zygote is been dividing, it forms an 8-cell embryo, and then again it divides, it goes on dividing. Now, when the cells number is too much, what do? This time you do not put it in the fallopian tube. Instead, you put in the uterus, and this is known as intrauterine transfer. You are putting in the uterus. And then there is one more thing, that is in vivo fertilization, where the fertilization is happening inside the female body. And now there is some person who is basically, again, as I said, cannot conceive by themselves. Okay, cannot conceive by themselves. For them, what is happening? Embryos from the in vivo, okay, embryos would be taken from the in vivo person, and then the embryo is later put in the uterus. It's not the zygote, it's the embryo itself which was being formed in the female body. It is being taken and put into some other person's body who is not able to naturally conceive. Okay, I hope that is done, and all this process comes under what? Assisted reproductive technologies. This is assisted. This does not happen naturally. It is assisted with the help of medical practitioners, the medicines and everything. Fine. Going ahead, what do we have? Okay. In which, okay, this is the question that I gave you, right? In which of the following techniques the embryo are transferred to assist those females who cannot conceive? Females who cannot conceive, and what is being transferred? Embryos are transferred. So in ZIFT, is embryo transferred, children? Tell me. In ZIFT, yes, embryo is transferred. In IOT, yes, it is transferred. In GIFT, in GIFT, no. Sorry, if I say ZIFT and GIFT, it will be confusing. ZIFT, here embryos are getting transported, even zygote is getting transported. Whatever you want to transport, you can do it, okay, transferred. Sorry, not transported. IUT again, intrauterine transfer. Over here also embryo is being transferred. GIFT, if you're asked GIFT, over here gamete is transferred. So this is wrong. Next, ICSI, over here also, embryo is not, ICSI means intracytoplasmic sperm injection. You're injecting the sperm into the cytoplasm. Wrong. And again, GIFT, wrong. So this is the correct answer. It came in the year 2020. Let's solve some PYQs. Next one. Consider the statements given below regarding contraception and answer as directed thereafter. So this includes everything that we studied. I just combined all of this and I have given you this question. So let's see. Medical termination of pregnancy during first trimester is generally safe. Consider the statement. Which of the following statements are correct? That is what you want to find. So this is medical termination of pregnancy during first trimester is generally safe. Yes. First trimester as in 12 weeks, it is safe. Generally, chances of conceptions are nil until mother breastfeeds the infant up to 2 years. So 2 years is too much. It lasts for at least up to 6 months, and that too, it's a very big doubt. So lactational amenorrhea is there for 6 months. Okay, after that it's not there. So don't think a person can breastfeed the child up to 2 years and during this point of time there is no chance of conception. It's not like that. Wrong. Intrauterine devices like copper T are effective contraceptives. Are they effective contraceptive? Yes, they are widely accepted contraceptives. So this is correct. Fourth, contraception pills may be taken up to 1 week after coitus to prevent conception. No, after 1 week of coitus it's too much. 72 hours it should be taken. Right? So, So 1 and 3 is correct. It came in the year 2008. Going ahead, this is for you. Tell me, which one of the following statement is correct regarding sexually transmitted diseases? And this is the thing that I gave you. Did you write the answer? Let's see if you got it correct. A person may contract syphilis by sharing milk with one already suffering from the disease. By sharing milk, syphilis is a reproductively STD, that is sexually transmitted diseases. It has to be transmitted sexually, even though now there are cases where they say it can be spread through sores as well, but again it is a sexually transmitted diseases. So by sharing milk, obviously there are no chances according to what was written, so let's cross it. Hemophilia is one of the STDs. No children, it's a genetic disorder which messes up with the clotting agents of our body such that the blood does not clot. Genital herpes and sickle cell anemia are both STDs. Genital herpes is definitely STD, but sickle cell anemia is again not an STD. It's a genetic disorder that comes along. Yeah, where the hemoglobin is messed up, and since hemoglobin is messed up, the RBC makes a sickle shape which causes all the trouble. So this is also wrong. Chances of a 5 years boy contracting a STD are very little. So they are not saying nil, which is why it is true. It is very little because chances of a 5-year-old boy having sexual intercourse is also very less chances are there, right? So this becomes true. I hope you got this correct. If you didn't get it correct, it's okay. At least you got to understand now, right? Assisted reproductive technology, IVF, involves transfer of what? Ovum into the fallopian tube. Okay. Zygote into the fallopian tube. Assisted reproductive technology, IVF. Okay. IVF, you're talking about IVF. Ovum into the fallopian tube, zygote into the fallopian tube, zygote into the uterus, embryo with 16 blastomeres into the fallopian tube. First thing, in IVF, you do not have to put ovum into the fallopian tube. No, you are giving the embryo. It can be zygote, it can be an embryo. Ovum does not mean, okay, that comes under GIFT, something else. Because IVF is mentioned here. Zygote into the fallopian tube sounds to be correct because zygote, yes, it is there in the fallopian tube. It has to be put in the fallopian tube itself. We cannot put it there in the uterus because zygote divide and forms some stage and later comes to the uterus to get implanted by itself. Zygote into the uterus, no children. Embryo with 16 blastomeres into the fallopian tube, you do not put embryo with 16 blastomeres into the fallopian tube. Okay. So basically this is also wrong. So after 8 blastomeres, you know na, you put in uterus in the case of IVF. So this is also wrong. So this is the correct answer that came in the year 2014. And now these are the questions that we already did. Okay, so let's just have a quick recap. Medical termination of pregnancy is considered safe up to how many weeks? 12 weeks. Match the following sexually transmitted diseases with their causative agent. Gonorrhea is caused by Neisseria. Syphilis is caused by ST, right? Treponema. Genital warts is caused by human papillomavirus. So your answer come out to be D. A for 2. A for 2. Rest everything has A for something else. Now, which one of the following does correctly match a sexually transmitted disease with its pathogen? Syphilis is caused by treponema, we just studied over here, right? In which of the following techniques the embryos are transferred to assist those females who cannot conceive? We just saw it now. It is ZIFT and IUT. Rest everyone has gamete and everything. We do not want that. We are talking about embryos, right? So it has to be this. And then one more question, consider the statements given below regarding the contraception and answer as directed. So we just saw what was the correct one. Medical termination of pregnancy could be done during the first trimester. It's totally safe, it's generally safe. And next thing, intrauterine devices like copper T are effective contraceptives. So it is 1 and 3 that becomes the correct answer. Going ahead, there is one question for my dear little champions. If you have studied this particular thing that I taught you today, then you should be definitely able to answer this question. In vitro fertilization is a technique that involves transfer of which one of the following into the fallopian tube. So it's asking about in vitro fertilization. If you know the answer, do not forget to comment it down right now. It came in the year 2010. And if you don't know the answer, we will be talking about it in the next session. Yes? So that's all, children. I hope that this particular session was useful for you. I tried to cover out everything that was there asked previously in the previous year question papers. There is nothing left. The questions are still left. I am planning to give you on the day of test, that is on Sunday, that will be coming around, where the test series has to come, right? So just give your best then, that's all. Have a really good day, and next thing that we are going to study will be about plants. We are going to talk about sexual reproduction in flowering plants. That would be the next topic that we have. So see you on the next day, and have a really good day. Stay blessed.